Did you know that Americans are among the least likely people in the developed world to actually live abroad? Can you believe that? I mean, I can believe it, but when you're in it as an American, when you live there and have never left, it's really, you don't know what's happening and you don't even know that you feel a certain way. But then when you leave, you start to see from the outside how things really are. And I'm starting to see like why Americans think that way. And we're going to do a lot on this channel to try and kind of dive into it because it is a super interesting fact that Americans believe that way. So this is going to be a good video. This is 3 American myths we don't believe anymore after living in Europe by Baguette Baum. They are a couple that lives over in France and they have a great channel, a lot of great content. I'm going to leave a link in the description so you can head on over there, subscribe to their channel, and do all of the YouTube stuff. All right, this is going to be a good one. Before we get going here, go ahead and like the video. That really helps a lot. Now let's see what we can see.
There are 3 beliefs about life in the U.S. that Americans, including us, tend to grow up with.
I think we didn't even realize the extent to how ingrained these ideas are in the psyche of Americans until after we left the U.S.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. I have no idea what these 3 things are. I may have already covered them on this channel, but I'm curious to see what they are and, you know, my thoughts on them. So curious to see what that's all about.
It's almost a little like brainwashing.
Oh, God.
But now that we live abroad in France, we realize that
Almost a little like brainwashing. It's brainwashing. I mean, you know, I'm going to cover this on some future videos, but every morning as a little kid, when you go to school, you have to recite what's called the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't know why it just never really hit me what that actually meant until I really in the last like 2 or 3 weeks. So interesting how, you know, that's proof that even though I've been gone for almost 3 years, like it never clicked that sounds a little weird. Like you're pledging your allegiance to a country. And so you grow up saying that every day of your life, well, except on the weekends, but every weekday of your life, it just kind of gets ingrained. Anyway, it's their video. So maybe I'm reacting. This is a reacting channel. Everybody just calm down, okay? Calm down.
Like brainwashing.
a little bit. But now that we live abroad in France, we realize that these almost universally held American beliefs aren't really so true.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Raina.
I'm Jason.
And
Hey,
we're
Raina.
Baguette Baum.
Hey, Jason.
When you grow up in the U.S., you're surrounded by American flags. You recite the Pledge of Allegiance every day in school, right? And you're told both directly and indirectly all the time that the U.S. does everything the best. But then when you move somewhere else, you know, for us it was France, you realize that lots of other places in the world actually do a little better.
That's true. You are told America's the USA is the best at everything, and you hear a lot, even right now today, that it is the greatest country in the world. I don't even know how they come up with that because there's so many different things that they're not the greatest at. But anyway, that's what you're told all the time. So if you were told that all the time, why would you want to go anywhere else? You already live in the greatest place on earth in the history of humankind. I'm not making this up. This is what they say. So I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds so ridiculous and egotistical, I know, but when you grow up in a country as big and as isolated from other countries as the U.S. is, you just really genuinely don't know and haven't seen anything different. Then when you do see those other places and you realize like, whoa, there's places where people have like universal high quality healthcare and affordable education, and it's statistically much safer than the US. Like it really just shocks your American brain. There's also this like weird pervasive belief that because the US is the greatest country on earth, if they haven't figured it out, probably no one has.
Right.
This can include some really basic things, even like basic water sanitation. We had friends and family that came and visited us here in France recently, and they had to ask if they could drink the water.
That is so true. It's crazy. I used to drink when I was little. I mean, I remember drinking out of the water holes. I was born in the 70s, so I remember that. But I would not drink tap water now. No way. I would drink it here in Spain, in Granada. We have, and or Malaga where we were, but not in the USA. Nowhere, no country, no state or city or anything. I would not.
They'd actually brought with them a whole set of advanced water purification equipment, and they were brushing their teeth with bottled water at first before we could talk to them and assure them the tap water is perfectly safe.
France is another advanced country.
Yeah.
And we thought this was actually even more funny because Evian water from Evian, France sells in the U.S. for like $5 a bottle. And so when you're in the U.S., you can drink French water, but not when you're in France. I don't know. Struck us as a little funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Another commonly held American truism is that Americans are somehow just more free than people in other democracies. Even our national anthem, which we sing all the time, it includes the line, the land of the free, the home of the brave. But what is that land of the free?
Oh, God. It's true. It's true. I don't even know what it means. Free for what? I don't know. But that's what they believe. That I'm proud to be an American where at least I know I'm free. There's a super popular song like that. And I'm proud, of something, all the men who died and gave that right to me. So I'm going to stand up next to the defend her every day. God bless the USA, something like that. I don't know. I don't listen to that song in my spare time. Obviously, I heard it somewhere in the U.S. over the course of my life. But it's just crazy, man. I mean, I don't hate the U.S. Sometimes it might come off that way, but it's just like, it's like you have this revelation and you realize that, at my age, my wife and I talk all the time, man, if we would have came here, we were like 30, like you just would have had a different life. But anyway, that's another video probably. I'm gonna go back a little bit.
Line, the land of the free, the home of the brave. But what does that land of the free actually mean?
Yeah.
What liberties exactly do people have in the U.S. that they don't have in so many other places around the world? Not long ago, we heard someone describe the difference in how Europeans and Americans view freedom. And it really struck home. It really captured the spirit of, I think, what we've observed here. I think that Americans want the freedom to, freedom to carry a gun, to do what they want, when they want, to practice their religion openly, to choose how to spend all their money.
Yeah, and
That's true. I think what Americans believe, and I know there's some Americans watching this, so feel free to comment, but I think their idea of freedom is like no one can force you to have universal health care. Like, you're free to not have it. You're free to, live in Texas and ride a motorcycle with no helmet. And if you crash and die because of it, at least you died in a free country doing what you wanted to do. So I think they like the idea of being free from the government, like implementing all of these things. A lot of things that are great here in Spain, at least. I don't know about other countries. They seem great in some of the videos that I've watched, but you're more than welcome to comment as to whether or not they are. But a lot of the things that are great here in Spain, I mean, they come from the government. So some people in the U.S. will see that as not being free because the government's making us do it, like making me pay a certain amount of taxes. I don't know.
Contrast to that was the idea that Europeans are looking more, they see freedoms from. So freedom from the threat of violence, freedom from dying lack of due to healthcare, freedom from having a religion imposed on them, freedom from pollution and toxins in their environment and food. So I don't know. We were talking about this concept of what American freedom is. Feels like it's become really extreme in the last few years.
Yeah.
Meaning in the U.S. now, like certain groups expect their own personal freedoms to trump everything else, no matter the.
Oh, she went all in on that one. Showed the picture and expect their personal freedoms to trump everything else.
Expect their own personal freedoms to trump everything else, no matter the cost to society or their fellow Americans.
Right.
Yeah. And as an American, the intensity of this individualism, I think it can color how you view the policies of the other countries out there.
Definitely.
You know, because you don't always realize or have the context to realize that these policies, they might mean different forms of freedom and still make for a more stable, fair, open, and enjoyable society.
Yeah. So, I mean, lastly, the thing that has changed that we see differently now is quality of life and how we define it. In the U.S., when we lived there versus now in France and Europe. When I was a kid in the U.S., my definition of like what quality of life or growing up and being able to have a good life was, it kind of revolved around how much money I could make when I grew up. That sounds embarrassingly materialistic.
Well, and it's true. I mean, when I was a kid, I've never thought about this. My quality of life was based around how much money I made, what kind of car I drove, the house I lived in. I'd always thought that if you had those things, you had a good quality of life. Which, man, that is so messed up, because just think of what it does to you. Like, if you don't get those things, or if you get those things, but they're not as grand as you thought they were going to be, like, that really can just mess somebody up. But I think that's what I thought a good quality of life was. And we bought a house. We couldn't afford it. I mean, luckily my wife was a property manager, so we had a place to live for free and we rented it out. But, you know, when they wanted to move, we were stuck because we had this mortgage and, you know, I don't know. We just couldn't make it happen. So we ended up selling the house. But, you know, you think that that's a good quality of life? We had a big ass house. It was a nice house. And we had decent cars and all of that, and kept getting a better and better car. So, but I think I have a different view of quality of life now. And it could just be the fact that I've had a chance to leave the U.S. and experience what living somewhere else is like. And it could be my age. You know, at this time, I don't give I give a F, you know. Hey,
I grew up.
This is the PG-13 channel, okay? We just say only a couple curse words here and there. Usually not an F-bomb. Unless I'm mad, so don't make me mad.
That sounds embarrassingly materialistic. And it kind of is.
It is.
But, I mean, the honest thing is to be able to buy more, bigger, nicer, better things. It's just like a big focus of American culture. You see it on TV and movies and advertisements. So, I mean, that soaks in even when you're a kid.
Yeah.
The house you can buy, the car you can drive, the size of the TV you have. If you buy your clothes or your candles from like certain shops, that all kind of paints a picture and defines if you have a good quality of life in U.S. culture.
Yeah, I think, you know, and maybe in other words, being visibly wealthy is just a stand-in for quality of life in the U.S. So I think American people will sometimes say that the quality of life is lower in Europe. And why? Because that's what you can see. You know, Europeans tend to make less money, have lower incomes.
Right.
They live in smaller houses. They have fewer cars. They have tiny refrigerators. There's often no clothes dryers. What kind of place is this?
See this video.
Yeah.
But we've come to understand that Europeans tend to have, I think they tend to be wealthier than Americans in two really distinct ways.
Ooh, it's a good statement right there. Uh-oh. Let's see what he has to say. I'm pretty sure I'm going to agree with him, but let's see.
That might be hard to see from the outside, but probably define quality of life better than a simple GDP number or, the number of seats in your SUV might capture. I think Europeans tend to have both more time and more peace of mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I am not saying in any way that the French or Europeans in general they don't have worries, or they're like
time. So his two things were time and peace of mind. Yeah. 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 I agree with that. I mean, I remember we worked so hard during the week. My wife and I, we both worked hard. And to the point where like we would just go crazy on not, like crazy as in trying to have as much fun as we can because we had no time during the week. So on the weekends we would go eat and go to the movies and this is what everybody does. But here in Spain, it's like I mean we're like what's today? we forget the day sometime. Cuz I don't know. It's just different. The things that matter are just different. I mean, I got the same. My wife gives me a hard time and the kids because I got like the same pair of shoes that I've had for a long time now. It's not good. I need to get some more. I'm going to get some more. But it's like nobody cares. They don't, anyway. Let me keep going.
Sitting around eating bonbons or they never want to buy some, Air Jordans or an American size.
Hold on. Let me go back.
That the French or your
mind.
Yeah. I mean, I am not saying in any way that the French or Europeans in general they don't have worries, or they're like sitting around eating bonbons or they never want to buy some, Air Jordans or an American size fridge.
Right.
Yeah.
None of that. But there's one really big difference I think that we've seen, and that is Europeans tend to have a value system around personal time and a social system that around basic human needs that support well-being.
Yeah, those two things, they come together for a quality of life that might be really hard to value on a graph or a balance sheet, the way you could, the stuff
GDP.
Maybe in your house could be captured.
Yeah.
And what does those two things look like in France? There's just a deep respect for your free time to be able to spend with family and to do things for pleasure or maybe just intellectual interest.
Yeah.
That is so true. It's that way in Spain too. We see so many people getting together and talking. And this is probably true in other parts of Europe, but like when we go to a coffee shop, nobody's on their laptops. Maybe at like the Starbucks close to the university because you got a lot of people that are students. But any other coffee shop, nobody's on their laptops. They are all talking. They're not on their cell phones. They're just talking and socializing with each other. And I remember when we first got our apartment, our landlord wanted us to sign the contract, so he invited us to his house for dinner. Like, I don't even think we met that we might have met them like once. They showed it, and it wasn't even both of them. I don't remember. But we had just met them. Couldn't have been more than a week. And they had us over to their house for dinner, had the table outside with like the grandparents and the kids, and all of us just had dinner, and they just talked to us and fed us, and we signed the contract. I mean, I've never experienced anything like that actually anywhere. So that's super. I don't know. That's great.
Pleasure or maybe just intellectual interest.
Yeah.
This might mean that businesses are open for fewer hours, that work weeks are a little shorter, and workers generally get 5 weeks of vacation per year.
Yeah.
And this all adds up to like more time for meals with family, more, access to high quality food. And, these are all things that are seen as essential parts of life.
Yeah.
I'm also not up at night worrying about how am I going to pay and buy my insulin? How am I going to pay for my daughter's education going forward?
So, again, it's not that life is easy.
I just want to speak on the education. I have a niece and nephew who I think my niece graduates this year. And, she can't go to the school she wants to. She just can't. Because of the cost. And it puts my in-laws in a tough it puts her parents in a tough spot because they want to give her the best, but they just really can't. And we were like, send her to Spain. She come stay with us and she can go to school for a fraction of the cost. What they're going to pay in 1 year over there, they could probably pay in 4 years over here. And it'll be just the same great education, if not better, because she'll have a different cultural experience. But, you know, I don't know. It's just, and that is a stress. And they started stressing out about that probably 10, 15 years ago. And it's finally here. And they just can't go to the school that they want.
Going forward.
So, I mean, again, it's not that life is easy, but
Right.
there's a sense of ease and safety that I feel here in France that was just missing in the U.S. Yeah. And, I mean, this peace of mind feels worth way more than that overpriced Pottery Barn comforter ever did in the U.S.
Yeah, you know, wealth as the U.S. glamorizes it with more, and flashier stuff. It just doesn't look the same to me now. You know, and overcoming the idea that no one anywhere does anything better than the U.S., that Americans are somehow freer, or that America is the only place to find a high quality of life. These are all just myths that living abroad has kind of dismantled for us.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're hesitating to make the jump to live abroad, but it's your dream, don't let these internal beliefs that we as Americans kind of all get brainwashed into our whole lives. Don't let that stop you. Because, you know what? You're American. You're very optimistic. You can do anything. And sometimes that means moving.
Oh, cool.
Thanks for watching.
A biento.
Oh man, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot. There are other people who think this way. I'm learning a lot about what just kind of growing up in the U.S. does to you, and just what it does to people that I know and care about. So I'll definitely have a lot more videos on this channel about those types of things, because I think it's actually an important thing, because I get a lot of people in the comments who don't understand how Americans think that they think the way they do. And then I get a lot of Americans who are defending it still because they don't see it, because they're in it. So, hey, if you want some interesting conversation, and we talk about a lot of stuff here on this channel, cultural things, sports, a lot of fun stuff, and probably go a little bit deeper than a lot of channels similar to this, then subscribe. It's that easy. All right, this was a really good video. Hopefully you liked the video. If you did, then all you gotta do is hit the thumbs up, and that means that you like it. Thanks for joining us today. My name's Greg, and we will catch you on the next video. Peace.